at the stage. Okay, so there you go, guys that are joining on LinkedIn. Nice to have you. And I don't know if anybody can also check out on LinkedIn if I'm actually audible there, because sometimes this technical stuff could be a little bit tricky. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the LinkedIn thing. Still having some issues there, but let's see. Okay. Oh, I think I'm audible there, as far as I can tell. Yeah, I don't want the audio to disturb what I'm doing here. Okay, so thanks, Afak. For a little bit of introduction, Afak is from Winnipeg. First time I'm attending the group. Great, great, awesome. So, but I hope you're on our platform like supplyjobs.ca. We can also bring you onto the WhatsApp from there. Once you are there. So anyone that is not yet on the supplyjobs.ca can join from there. Just put in the link in the comment section. So welcome, Demola, Afak, Fayaz, Ibobor, and Patrick. Okay, so yeah, let's get started here. We don't have much time. Um, yeah, today I'm just trying to help those who might have been considering supply chain, and they've heard a lot about it, but they're not quite sure if it's the right move for them in terms of career. And that's what we're going to be doing today. My name is Abel Donke, Sarah Project Services. I'm the founder of the Supply Jobs Canada, which we also call the Supply Chain Industry Network. We are about 1,000 professionals in these groups across Canada. We have supply chain professionals, operation management, project managers, business analysts. So, yeah, we have a very wide scope of professional that are within our group here. We have this philosophy about helping because we feel that there is a lot of thought around how you don't have that Canadian work experience and stuff, and then we think differently here. We think we have the experience that it takes to work in Canada, and beyond that, we also want to pool our resources together as professionals who already are integrated in Canada, so that we can help those who are just coming in. And I think it kind of makes sense that way, right? Because eventually you see that those guys that you've met along the way or that they just come in along the way eventually become, stakeholders in some other things you're working on, some other projects you work on in future. Why don't you start building that network right now? Because you never know where your path will cross again, and if you've been of help, you added value to these guys at some point in time in their career journey, definitely they'll be of help or be of value to you as well. It's kind of the way it works. This is what we understand to be networking. It's about adding value. It's about taking interest in each other's journey and then seeing how we can help with resources and also add value. So that's kind of puts that into perspective for those who probably have been joining us for the first time. We have a platform called the supplyjobs.ca. We also have a WhatsApp as well along with that. And through all of this, we provide resources like mentoring, networking, like what we have here. We provide info sessions. And we also connect with professionals or experts within the industry. We have an annual conference called the Industry Connect. And we're going to be having this year. And we'll be looking for volunteers, be looking for those who would like to help us make it a successful event. There will be a couple of other in-persons along the way in this year. We'd like to have some in-persons probably here in Winnipeg, Calgary, Saskatchewan, and maybe Edmonton as well. So that's kind of a bit of introduction to our network if you're just hearing about us for the first time. So let me just go straight to the presentation for today. I'm going to be talking about supply chain. That's really going to be the focus for today. I'm going to share my screen here. Wait, give me a second. I need to download this stuff. So I want to make sure that everybody on LinkedIn also can see my stuff clearly. Yeah, I hope to make interactive. So this is kind of a networking too. This way, really, I want to make this happen, so that those guys who are already working in the industry, they actually can provide information or their insights as to what supply chain is from their own experience and their perspectives. Yeah, I'll try my best to share my own experience as well. So I'm just trying to download that thing. Just 1 second here. Yeah, I think I'll just rather do it as a PowerPoint than this. Okay, I think I got it as a PowerPoint now. Okay. So many PowerPoints being unleashed here. Okay, I think I got it right now. Okay, just a second. I'm sharing my screen here. Can you see my screen? Can you confirm? Can you see my screen? Awesome. Let me do same on LinkedIn. Just gonna share it on LinkedIn as well. Okay, I think that's also done on LinkedIn. Okay then. Um, Again, my name is Abiodun Ake. So my presentation here today is about supply chain. That's what the focus is on today. You probably heard about supply chain, especially during the COVID period. So we're just going to present quickly what supply chain is all about. We're going to look at the different profiles of supply chain management professionals, emerging roles, and we'll look at some skill sets, and maybe that's where you really be able to connect, with what you're doing currently, because a lot of people are actually working in supply chain already, but because of this, what do I call it now? This language that we use, um, which I call the geek language of calling it supply chain, makes people think, oh, it's something technical, something geeky, but it's not really what it is. It's just the industry. That's what supply chain is. If you've been working in the industry, you've probably been working in supply chain already. So we'll try to connect all of that today. Um, well, if I ask you what supply chain, especially those who really haven't done anything in supply chain before, they might give me these answers. They might say it's about manufacturing, they might say it's about transportation, or they might say it's about commerce, buying and selling, uh, online shopping. But I would like to ask those who are actually, professionals here who can share with us, their own insights. Okay, from your own perspective, I haven't been hands-on, like what do you really can define what supply chain is in your own terms. No technical words, just okay, in your own terms, what do you think supply chain is? Especially from those guys who are already been working in supply chain. Anybody want to try? Like I said, I would like to make this as interactive as much as possible. So, who wants to help us? And this could actually come from guys who are also not working in supply chain. So, Fayaz, want to try? Okay. 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 So, Faraz here is trying to give some perspective from his own experience, talking about helping with fulfillment and all the type of stuff that is going on in the team. But Africa has some other insights. Okay. Okay. Right, right. Yeah, so as you can see, when you put all of the things that Africa and Fairs that mentioned together already, you realize that well, pretty much this is everything that is happening in the industry. Um, but the other side that a lot of people might not have been able to connect together is also the service angle to it. Like there's also service going on in supply chain, not only about product, right? So now let's I've put the question also in the chat box there, so if you have some other perspectives, you can also share that in the chat box. So here's a definition by CIPS. CIPS is one of the organizations that actually are recognized as a global association for supply chain management. And they define it as a network of people, information, processes, and resources involved in the production, handling, and distribution of materials and finished products or services to the customers. So it's an interesting way to define it, but I think they kind of capture the important things here. So the first thing here is a network. Okay, so a supply chain is a network. It's a network of information, people, processes, and resources. And I think I find this one I really resonate with this one because when you really think about it, the industry is actually a network of all of this thing going on at the same time. But we know the activities that they mentioned, that which is production, logistics, distribution, and all of that are integral part of those network, because without all of those going on, the logistics part of it, the manufacturing part of it, and all of those, right, supply chain can't really happen, right, without all of those things. So so this one is by Epix. So Epix is the American association that is relevant, I mean, known for the development of supply chain, knowledge and standards. So it's a system of organizations, people, technologies, activities, information, and resources involved in moving materials, products, and service all the way through the manufacturing process, from the original supplier of materials to the end customer. So well, we saw some things that are very common to what we've seen earlier. We can see customer here. Instead of using network, they use system this time around. We can see people, we can see activities, which you can also call processes. There's information here as well. And they also mentioned manufacturing. In the other one, they mentioned production. So essentially, we're still talking about the same thing, and then but this being defined in a different way. So I think instead of me, just focusing on like the technical definition we saw from these two bodies, I think this would be a typical supply value chain here, which is a product that we're very familiar with. We do it the Canadian way, right? Tim Hortons, breakfast meal. And you'll realize that this breakfast meal that's being served at the Tim Hortons restaurants, there are a lot of activities that has happened right before that product is delivered to the customers. And some of those activities here, you can see the procurement of materials, like they have to purchase the coffee beans from farmers. And these coffee beans are brought into Canada for processing. They actually have the processing facilities across Canada. And the other thing is that you realize that Tim Hortons actually don't do the proteins themselves. They actually outsource that to Maple Leafs. So Maple Leafs are the one responsible for all of the protein that they actually serve in their meals. So that's the procurement activity is also going on here. So this is the one where I think AFAC mentioned engaging vendor suppliers, and then also managing your engagement with those suppliers towards ensuring that your supply chain is well and effectively and efficiently managed. So the procurement part of it. Then of course this, like I mentioned, this materials, which is coffee in this case, like the basic materials for the coffee drink, is shipped. Basically, this is the logistic and transportation aspects of it. So the logistics also includes storage. They have to be stored somewhere, like even right from the source, right from the farmer, they are stored somewhere. When they get to Canada, they are stored for processing, while they are waiting, being processed, being cleaned, being, roasted, and all of those other stuff that they have to do, which also includes manufacturing, right? That's what you would call manufacturing, like all the roasting, grinding, the gassing, all of those activities, making sure that they have a final end product that is also happening in supply chain. And then, of course, when these products are ready for delivery to the restaurants, they have to be stored somewhere as well to make sure that they're still in good state before they're actually being like, for example, this particular meal, for example, they'll be refrigerated to keep them in very good state before it's being sold to the customer. So all of that storage is still happening, and then you have what we call inventory there, because this particular material is still in transit or is being stored temporarily. And then at the restaurants is where the sales, marketing, and all of those activities are going on. So there is a customer service, there's a marketing, processing the orders, and also the payment processes. So all of this is kind of a microcosm of what is happening in our supply chain. So there is a particular model that we'll use to describe the supply chain. We call it Michael Porter's value chain. So basically, you can see all of those activities are represented here. And the end goal, which is what you see on the right side, the right hand side, which is margin, making sure that as you are doing all of these activities, which we call the supply value chain activities. So we have them in two categories. There is a primary, and then there is a secondary. So the primaries are the logistics, operations, marketing, sales, services. So these are all the ones you saw in the testimonials thing that I just showed you. But then when it concerns the primary, this is the one a lot of people don't associate with supply chain, where a lot of professionals are already working in these areas, but they're actually part of the supply value chain. So, for example, procurement, I speak to a lot of people who work in the bank. So, banking operations actually has to do with a lot of purchases. So, they do procurement. I mean, talking about the cards, like the ATM cards, the ATM machines, you have to buy all those things. Especially if you're an operations manager, you have to ensure that you have gas, like that you use in operating your fleet, the vehicles that you use in operations. You have to have what we call MROs. These are materials that you use in operating all the branches of the bank. So procurement is actually going on in all of that. whereas you're not delivering product, but you're actually delivering services. Still, you will need supply chain activities to be able to deliver that to your customer satisfaction. Technology is a huge part of supply chain again. In fact, what we do today in supply chain could be called technology, right? Because there's really nothing we can do in supply chain today that is not technology. So the other one that you could also see there, of course, is the infrastructures that are necessary, talking about facilities. I mean, think about Amazon, right? Amazon cannot really run their operations without all of these distribution centers that they have across all the fulfillment centers they have across the globe, because that's really what keeps them to be optimal in their operations, to be able to have all this 2-day delivery, or is it 1-day delivery, the prime service, prime, is it prime they call it? Yeah. So the infrastructures are very, very fundamental, be it technology. So you can also equate infrastructure to technology, right? Because you see all this AWS, Amazon, platform that people would use in delivering services. This is a huge part of supply chain when it comes to services, right? And then, of course, human resources is people that do all those things. At the end of the day, the processes don't do themselves, right? All this procurement, logistics, marketing, it is people that run all these things. So a huge part of supply chain is actually human resources as well. I mean, think about it this way also, that when you work with suppliers, it is people that these suppliers are using to run all of these operations that are providing service to you. So the other way to break it down is that you can see that there are three major processes that we'll actually focus on today. The procure to pay, the manufacture to order, fulfill to order, and then the order to cash. So this, in a way, breaks down the supply chain into the processes that are very critical to the delivery of supply chain in an efficient and effective way. So then we have, I think we have a background noise there. So we also have different type of marketplaces where supply chain operates in. Let me check where that noise is coming from. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay. So we can have supply chain happening in business to business activities, in business to consumer activities, and also customer to customer activities. So and there are different models for this. So for example, Amazon will be a typical business to consumer, business to customer supply chain. Business to business, usually that happens with the public sector, governments operations. They will engage businesses to help them in delivery of services, either IT services or even waste management services and all the type of services. So this is a business to business scenario. Um, and then you have the supply and demand. You can call it the upstream and downstream. So I think it was Afak that mentioned supply and demand, or was it fairs? So you have the supply side of supply chain, and you also have the demand side of supply chain. Majority of people only know about the demand side of supply chain. They don't know about the supply side. Because if you ask people, they would say, generally people who don't know anything about supply chain will tell you transportation, logistics, of course, because this is the customer facing side of supply chain. So that's the one they can really resonate with. But there are a whole lot of other things that are happening even before that downstream activities, which is marketing, sales, and all of those other stuff that are going on that are facing the customers. So that is what supply chain. But before I go forward, I promised to make this interactive. I do have a question here, which I think will help us to also, get things done in a quick manner. Or let's just say maybe a way for me to check how we're doing in terms of understanding. Give me a second here. I have this little quiz that I'd like to share with you guys. Okay, so it's a Slido quiz. I'm going to share this particular one here. Okay. So if you haven't used Slido before, let me just share my link with you here for the Slido question. Okay. So this is a Slido question here. Okay. You can go to slido.com. The number is 3079265. I'll put that also in the chat box. So you can do this on slido.com. The number is 3079265. Let me see if it's something I can also post for those guys as well. Okay. So slido.com. Let's see people's take on what the advantages of supply chain will be. Okay, yeah, I have some challenges with my LinkedIn. Like I said, if you're hearing on LinkedIn, I think what you could do is probably join on they probably could join on the YouTube or something. But I think okay, so what I could also do, let me try this out. Let me try this out. So please can you confirm if you're able to access that LinkedIn I mean the link for the Slido. So okay, okay, great. Let me put this here quickly for those who are on. Some guys want to join us from the. Yeah, I can get there. Just give me a second here. Okay. Let me see. So the question I'm asking is, aside from competitive price, in what other ways does the supply chain add value to your business? That's the question I have here. So I'm seeing delivery on time, quality confirmation, long-term business development is mine. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Keep it coming, and I will share with everyone. I only have one so far. Only have one so far. So let's keep it coming. So while we're waiting for responses to that, let me continue with the presentation. So, well, the order to cash process is really the one that a lot of people are engaging with in our supply chains. Like I mentioned, we are talking about supply chain, especially those who haven't really worked in supply chain. They are mostly going to be talking about the customer facing activities, and this is the one. The order to cash process. So if you really want to know the order to cash process, well, go on Amazon, right there. That is, you're already working in the order to cash process of our supply chain if you're placing orders on Amazon. And you can see all of the activities that are there. You know, the customer places the order, that's you on Amazon. And then there's the fulfillment processes that needs to happen. Sometimes this fulfillment process is actually outsourced. Sometimes it is actually performed by the companies themselves. So it all depends on what the companies, how the company, you know, supply chain strategy is being deployed. If they decide to do the fulfillment processes themselves, so there will be things like inventory replenishment, other configuration, other sourcing and packaging. So Mostly the production manufacturing part of it is outsourced in this particular case. So that's why you see the fulfillment is very simple. So this is what you will have in a retail store. So you go into a retail store, "Oh, I want to purchase this stuff," or you go online, "I want to purchase this stuff." This item is already sitting somewhere. It's probably at a fulfillment center or a distribution center, and then it is just basically sent to you, delivered to you through transportation, which is shipment. And then there will be order tracking. So you will see some updates about your order, that is being sent to your email. So that's the order tracking going on there. And then, of course, if you want to return it, you follow the same process through which they will have provided information to you on how to go about the return. And then, of course, when it comes to the online shopping one, which is the customer facing supply chain, it is very straightforward in terms of how the process payment happens. Very easy. You just basically, pay through some of these payment gateways like Visa, Mastercard, or whatever. So online. So we call that part e-commerce, basically. So this is something that everybody probably one time or the other you've been involved in this part of supply chain, right? So the one that might be a little bit away from the customer facing side of our supply chain is procure to pay. So procure to pay part is where these products that they're actually sending or delivering to customer, where they get it from. Of course, they got it from either they got it from somebody else, like another supplier, and this is where we have the B2B, right? Business to business. So Amazon, for example, is purchasing this from some suppliers or from some vendors or from some small businesses, right? So from this is where the procure to pay process is taking place. So this is behind the scene. So this is why if you have not really been in supply chain or you haven't really performed any role at all in supply, you probably won't know about these things because it's not happening at the front end. So the procurement sourcing, aspects. So this is mostly B2B. So issue purchase order, which is basically a document that will be issued out as a confirmation that we agree to buy this from you at this price to be delivered at this time. So this is what purchase order or contracts really are. And then of course there's a receiving that happens, So for example, Amazon is buying this from their suppliers or some of their manufacturers if it's their brand. Then they probably would have received it and stored in some fulfillment center or in some distribution centers. And then, of course, once you then have that delivered to Amazon as a business, then there is what we call the invoicing and accounts payable processes happening there. Again, this is happening in the back end. And you have things that we call three-way match. So what was delivered in terms of the goods receipt, the invoice that the supplier has issued, and then also the purchase order. The three are compared to make sure that there is no discrepancy, there is no variance between those three. And then the payment is made to the supplier in that sense once everything checks out. But if there's an issue, there's what we call invoice reconciliation. We want to check out what is the issue. Why is it not checking out? Why is everything not matching? So and that's what we call invoice reconciliation. So this is the procure to pay part of the supply chain. So the third part, which is this is also happening way upstream, all right? So the procure to pay part, we can use the example of Amazon purchasing from their customer, from their suppliers or the small businesses that actually supply these products. But this particular one is happening way upstream, you know. So, and this is also B2B, right? It's a B2B process, business to business process. So, you can see that the first aspects of things that is going on here is product design, product development, so research and development. So the example we can use here is Toyota. Toyota, manufacturing cars, right? So there will be a lot of, or even iPhone, right? Apple iPhone. So they'll do product design and development. There's a whole lot of things that is going on here, including supplier selection, all right. Um, Value analysis, engineering, and all of that stuff. Or it could even be IT, technology stuff going on here, right? And then once they've designed a product, there will be the production planning control. That's if they do not outsource the manufacturing. Okay, so um, Apple, for example, outsource their manufacturing, so they are not manufacturing themselves. All they just do is this product design and development part of it, and then the rest, like the production planning and the manufacturing, has been outsourced to a supplier based out there in, I believe, Taiwan. They have Chinese plants and stuff like that. So then there is the logistics and distribution. Of course, these products that they manufacture in China and other places have to be moved out to the markets, which is based in the United States for Apple, and then globally as well for Apple. So and you can see a lot of things going on here, right? Production, routing, scheduling, execution of production activities, manufacturing operations, quality control and quality management, inventory control, transportation, warehousing, a whole lot of other things. So this is happening. This is what you will call the traditional industry, right? Because it's happening way upstream. Like people mostly would not know about all of these activities going on in our supply chains. Okay, so I was asking question earlier about. Let me see if we have responses aside from the first one I got. Okay, yeah. So I have some more responses. Um, So here are some other responses that I have here. Let me see if I can present this. Okay, let me share my screen. Sure, you can't see that for now. Can you still see my screen? Okay, let me reshare my screen. All right, so these were the comments I got. So you might wonder. It sort of gives away itself in terms of the benefits of supply chain management, um, and also how the supply chain adds value to a business. So you can see some of the comments we have here. Let me see in a second here. Sure, let me share my screen here. Okay, so some of the comments I have here say supply chain add value by ensuring right quality, sustainability, continuous process improvement, compliance, business diversification, awareness to new information, improved communication, streamline processes, reduce lead times, minimize. Yep, improve operational efficiency and save costs. In 3 hours, right price, right availability, right time, delivery on time, quality confirmations, um, long-term business development risk management. So, well, like we can go on and on, but I think we can break it down to maybe three major things or even four. We can talk about customer satisfaction because all of these 3 hours, all these hours that we're talking about, the right time, right price, right place, and all of that, it's about the customer placing an order and getting them at the right time that they want it. And of course, this also ties to customer satisfaction, right? And then we can talk about efficiency. Okay, so efficiency is about managing your operation in such a way that you're able to get products manufactured at competitive price, right, or competitive cost. And of course, we can talk about effectiveness as well, and continuous improvement. So, which I think I can also see that here, or you could call it even innovation. And then risk management also. Risk has a cost to it, right? Like every business opportunity, every business strategy that represents an opportunity. On the flip side of it is risk, right? So supply chain also helps in identifying this, especially suppliers risk, supply management risk, operations risk, so all sort of risks that will occur in the in the delivery or in the processes of a business. So identifying that in a proactive way and then dealing with them is also one of those things that supply chain management will help with. So thanks for those who participated in this. I don't know if there's a question at this point. If you have a question, type in the chat box. I'm just gonna try to run this up soon. Then let me go back to the PowerPoint. Yeah, I hope you can see the PowerPoint now. Like I said, I'm a little bit slow here because I just want to make sure that those who are probably on the let's give me a second. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we talk about supply chain all this time. Here, supply chain management, we actually allude to some of the things you guys have mentioned already in terms of the benefits of managing a supply chain. The process of strategically managing the movement and storage of necessary raw material parts and finished products from suppliers through the manufacturing process and all to customers or end users, as well as the associated information flows. Right. So it's not just all about managing the movement and storage of all of this inventory in terms of material parts, finished products, but also the manufacturing process and the information that is associated with all of these activities is what we help to manage when we talk about supply chain management. So how do we connect it back to business strategy? So here is Amazon, which I've used as an example so far. Um, well, Amazon strategy, or let's say slogan as a company, is saying that they want to be the most customer-centric company in the world, right? And how many people agree with that? Well, I kind of agree with that because I'll give it to Amazon on a scale of 1 to 10. I'll give them 8 or 9 in terms of their ability to actually achieve this, being the most customer-centric company in the world. And how have they been able to achieve this? Of course, it would never have happened without supply chain management, effective supply chain management. And I'll just try to break it down here in terms of what their value proposition is. Yeah, they have a e-commerce platform that they use in selling books, electronics, and toys, to their customer base. And what they hope to do is to aim to achieve the delivery of the orders from their customers to be able to achieve it the same day. So they have the prime thing they're talking about, right? This is one of their tactics through which they're able to achieve this goal of being a customer-centric company. And of course, competitive pricing is one of those two. They need to be able to sell this product at a competitive price to their customers. So all of these great things that Amazon is trying to deliver to their customer, they wouldn't have been able to do it without supply chain management or effective supply chain management, let's put it that way. So we have things like procurement and sourcing. So part of those processes we talked about earlier, which means getting these products from the right source at the right price, um, and in the right quality. So this is basically what they will be doing, or whatever they're doing. This is what they want to make sure happens with their supply, the procurement process. Of course, transportation. Just all of a sudden, Amazon actually is competing with FedEx. They're competing with DHL. By the time you take DHL and you take FedEx, I think Amazon is in number 3 when it comes to international freight and global logistics. They have fleet of planes. They even charter vessels themselves, which is something that it was they were the first retail company that would do that, you know. And this really helped them during COVID, because that's actually how Amazon was able to do well above and beyond other companies when the COVID period, because they were already neck deep into transportation and also technology like AWS, right? The Amazon cloud infrastructure, which they are also even, renting out to other companies. They started this technology, which helped to facilitate all of their supply chain processes. They also have about 1,000 warehouses worldwide, maybe more than that right now, because this is a very old, PowerPoint, by the way. So I'm sure they have more than 1,000 warehouses right now. So this is the facilities we're talking about. Having these facilities is really having them in strategical places is what ensures that they're able to deliver on that prime, that prime service thing, deliver within one day. So without all these facilities, it wouldn't be possible. All right. So and then of course the supply chain management strategies like just in time, um, you know, vendor management, vendor management inventory, use of third-party logistics. By the way, even with all of these 1,000 warehouses they have worldwide, there will still be some people that they won't be able to serve, you know, to this expectation of, same day delivery, right? There will be a lot of customers still not able to serve with that because they don't have all of the facilities in this world to make that happen. So they will still use some third-party logistics in some locations to really make this happen, right? So that is an example of a company that I can really talk about in terms of a good example. And then you can see all the value add and non-value add activities that probably are going on based on this model that we had earlier. And you can see the last item here, which is basically how they're able to achieve competitive advantage, speaking from the margin perspective, being able to deliver uh, at a competitive cost, all the products that they're selling to their customers, because they're able to have an efficient uh, supply chain in place, a cost efficient supply chain. So this helps to drive margin. And you know what Amazon does, because they're able to do this very well, they then pass this margin over to their customers. And this is how they're able to achieve competitive pricing in the marketplace. So that's a good example. You remember this one? This is a bad example, right? I don't know if you guys know about Target fail in Canada. Target came to Canada and they actually failed, and why did they fail? Supply chain management. They were not able to manage their supply chain effectively. And they came in within a year. It's unbelievable. They left within a year. And some of the things we saw was that a lot of the operations that they were having in terms of supply chain, they were not really aligning with what they have promised their customer. So, and this is where you see the difference between what supply chain was doing for Amazon and what supply chain did for Target in Canada in terms of how it failed them because they didn't manage the supply chain effectively. So Target is, wants their customer to expect more and then also expect them to pay less. And if you experience Target in Canada when they were actually here, that didn't happen. you go to their you go to their store and what do you see? Understocked, limited product variety. You can see in the background of this picture here is actually their store. Some of the pictures taken from their store, empty shelves. All right. And then what also happened is that some of the products that they're even providing at higher prices to their customer. Well, guess what? The competitors took advantage of that. Because the competitors were now cutting down their price and then targeting Amazon's customers in the process, right? I mean, target customers in the process. So you can see when you don't manage your supply chain effectively, this is what happens. Lack of online shopping at a time when rivals were expanding their e-commerce operations. Stores were understocked, limited product variety, higher prices than competitors, and this led to the loss of competitive advantage for Target. Target. And I looked into the reason why Target actually failed. And I think one of the things I read about it is that the way they implemented their ERP, it appears that there's a latency in the information. And you see where information is all very critical in supply chain. The information that the distribution centers and the retail stores had were absolutely different. So in terms of the retail stores, um, don't have this product physically present in the stores, but their information system at the management at the head office is saying that these products are actually available at the retail stores. But what is really happening is that those products are still somewhere in the distribution center and fulfillment centers. However, it's not at the store itself. Physically, you see where the right time, right place, right quantity that we're talking about. You see, it's missing, totally missing in that scenario. And I learned that it's about the implementation of I think they use SAP, and it appears that there was a kind of a failure that happened with the ERP implementation for their inventory. And this totally led to the fail of Target in Canada. And you can really see how this connects back to what we were saying earlier in terms of how supply chain management actually adds value to an organization, because it goes back to customer satisfaction, innovation, efficiency, effectiveness, continuous improvement. All of these things are very critical for any organization, regardless, even if it's public sector. All of these things are very, very important. It's just that the way it might impact the public sector will be different from the way it would impact the private sector. As in the case of Target. I mean, if any government organization fails in terms of maybe their healthcare sector when it comes to supply chain, okay, well, maybe we'll see delays. We may see long list of patients waiting for MRI and all of those other type of things. But it wouldn't mean that the government will shut down, right? But in the case of the private sector, as you see in the Target Canada scenario, it all failed, and a lot of people lost their job in the process. And I even think that the CEO of the Target Canada at that time also lost his job. So you can see that the impact is really huge when it comes to not being able to manage supply chain effectively. So how does that, connect back to supply chain opportunities, career opportunities? One thing I would like you guys to do for me in the chat box, I would like to actually know what type of skills you are using currently, maybe whatever type of job that you are in. If you can type it in the chat box, that would be great. Let's see what type of skills you're currently using, in your current job. It doesn't matter what job you're doing. What skill sets are you actually using? If you can type it in the chat box, that would be great. So here it is. I didn't want to go to this Slido again, so to save time, what skills do you currently use, or let's say currently apply on the job? Okay, so if you can type out in there, so what are those skills that you consider relevant to the roles that you are playing at the moment in your organization? Okay. Okay. So while you're doing that, I will go over these two more slides, emerging roles in supply chain management. Yeah, so lately there have been a lot of changes happening in the industry, especially with technology, globalization, empowered consumers. With social media, a lot of people have access to the information that you know, really empowers consumers to the point that if you have an issue with a company, just go on Twitter, go on social media, and go complain. You know, And before you know it, the whole world knows about, the fact that that company is messing up. And what does that mean? It means that might affect them in the marketplace. So a lot of companies are really trying to keep up, with all these empowered consumers. You have this culture of influencers nowadays. They talk about a particular product, and before you know, everybody is buying that product. All these type of different things, that are happening within um, the world as it is currently, has really challenged supply chain management function within organization. I mean, you remember COVID, right? When every organization was shut down, and this also impacted supply chain. There were strikes, there were all sort of things. I mean, wars. So all these things had really challenged supply chain to the point that we really need to leverage a whole lot of information. As we mentioned in the beginning, we said information is part of our supply chain. So leveraging information has also become very critical to what we do in supply chain. And what does that mean? It means that there are new frontiers in supply chain that are emerging, and a lot of people need to pay attention to. Even those of us who are already working in supply chain needs to pay attention here, because there are a whole lot of different careers that are emerging that we need to explore. So things like procurement analytics, supply chain analytics. We have technologies like big data, predictive analytics, supply chain optimization, which helps us in supply chain network design, innovation leadership, trying to make sure that our supply chains are more resilient, adaptive to respond to all of these, uncertainties that are currently playing out in the industry, also globally. And then, of course, the digital transformation of supply chain. This actually was fast tracked by COVID, because I remember prior COVID, we'll be talking about digitalization of supply chain, and it doesn't happen to be something that is priority to a lot of organizations, because they thought, okay, well, I don't want to go and spend so much millions of dollars on this technology, just because it's a fancy thing to do. But now organizations have realized it's not really about it being fancy. It's really very critical to the success of any industry. Um, Nowadays, we have technologies like robotics, automation, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and blockchains. And this has also mean that a lot of other roles are emerging in supply chain that, those who are just coming in supply chain, honestly, I want to really encourage people who are just coming in supply chain not to stick just to the traditional supply chain. You need to move into the technology enabled supply chain, which actually adopts the use of advanced technology like automation, artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things. These are really where you get, compensation for the effort that you're putting. Because I always say what the traditional, those who are working in traditional supply chain are being paid today is totally garbage for the lot of work that supply chain professionals put into what they do today. It is not really encouraging. And this is why I would say if you are exploring supply chain, totally move into the technology enabled supply chain, and don't waste so much time, like focusing on traditional areas. So, having said that, these are the entry level roles. Okay. So, even if you are trying to explore the technology areas, first of all, try to make sure that you have a good foundation in supply chain. And this is really why we're talking about this topic today. So, for those who are exploring newly supply chain, you'll be looking at things like supply chain planners, buyers. So you can see inventory control coordinator. Some of these functions are you already doing them, whichever function that you are in, but maybe you're not doing them with these job titles, right? So also we have logistics coordinator, basically facilitating the receiving, storing, moving, and shipping of supplies. Shipper, receiver, or fulfillment associate. So these guys will also help with the receiving and recording of parts, supplies, materials. And then also we have the demand planners who are responsible for forecasting, information related to uh, demand. So I see a lot of information already we have here coming from the back end. So we have negotiation skills, operations management, communication skills, right? So all of these are basically skills that are required to be successful in supply chain. Problem solving skills, that is huge for anyone working in supply chain. Data analytics, yeah, negotiation, collaboration, communication skills, ordering, stock replenishment, claims management, efficient warehouse, receiving and pricing, yeah. Time management, that's also another huge one, right? Demand, forecasting, well, we could call that demand planning or forecasting, stock replenishment. Yeah, so yeah, but the basic skills really are the ones that guys have already mentioned. A lot of it also has to do with soft skills. I mean, negotiation skill, problem solving skills, communication skills. Those are huge when it comes to our career in supply chain, and those are really the type of skills that already, if you're working in any type of management, these are skills that you're already applying anyways. These are skills you're already using anyways. So when we talk about skills that are relevant or that are critical in supply chain, we're talking about analytical skills, okay, leadership skills, the ability to influence change, the ability to influence others, to take some decisions or make some decisions, ability to see a desirable future or to organize resources to accomplish something important. Communication. So I think we saw communication in the list. Pass across a message, presentation and public speaking skills, verbal communications. All these are very critical. Negotiation. So we saw negotiation earlier, right? So negotiation also is really about influencing others, to agree on some desired outcome. So a lot of us in supply chain, so mentioned procurement, for example. So as simple as procurement may seem to some people, there are some activities we do in procurement that are purely communication. Engaging with suppliers, managing them, ensuring that you have this ongoing relationship management of suppliers such that it helps to aid delivery of products and services. All of these things are, at the basic level, they are communication skills, right? But then it is very, very critical. Organizational skills. I mean, talking about policy procedures, manuals. We do a lot of this, all this paperwork stuff, right? Um, and also strategic formulations, problem solving. So some of you mentioned this, root cause analysis of problems, continuous improvement, technical skills. So all this accounting stuff, the law, business administration, engineering and technology, all of these technical skills are very, very relevant. So remember when we talk about the upstream, we talk about product design, research and development, all of those things are very, very critical here because these are subject matter expertise. So if we're talking about, law, for example, the contracts that we're formulating with suppliers, basically these are law, legal terms and conditions. So if you already have, skills in this area, it means that there is already an area where you will actually be very, very relevant and be able to practice regularly because you have some type of skills already in those areas, even experience in those areas. Project management, business analysis, planning of projects, execution and monitoring of projects, project closeouts. All of these are very critical because we work on a lot of initiatives. Remember, we talk about innovation, we talk about continuous improvement. All of these are driven through effective project management. If you're introducing new technology, all of these are facilitated through project management. So these are all things that are very critical. Of course, customer service, as you mentioned earlier. Okay, so having talked about that, other things that I will quickly touch on is depending on where you are on your journey. You might be asking, okay, how do I proceed from here? Yeah, you could take on academic programs, which if you, depending on your situation at this point in time, if you are somebody who needs structure and you think you can, wait the next 2 years because your bills is being paid without you having to work, yeah, well, school might be, an ideal thing for you, and you have that 20,000 or whatever they spend there. Yeah, so that might be a school thing for you. But for those of you who already have experience, I would not really recommend that. If you already have some substantial work experience in the industry, go through professional designations. Professional designation is the right way to go if you have some substantial experience, even if those experiences are not related to supply chain. I would rather go the route of designation, because to me too, this is how I pursued it. I pursued designation after studying mechanical engineering. I had a degree in mechanical engineering, but all of my experience the past 20 years, all I've pursued is just professional designations. And we have different types. The one we'll focus on is actually this one, the Epics one, North America. Um, so the last item here is talking about all the different functions: procurement, logistics, inventory management, supply chain, demand planning, production operations management. And then, of course, we didn't put business analysis here. This supply chain business analysis is one of those emerging career. And I also want to highlight this because a lot of us already have um, the subject matter expertise in supply chain. So if there was an ideal candidate for supply chain business analysis role, it is you, because you already have the subject matter expertise in supply chain. So it will be an ideal role for anyone who have supply chain knowledge and experience to pursue the supply chain business analysis role. So when we say business analysis, one thing I also want to clarify is all of the things we do in these functions relates directly to business analysis. There's nothing you do in procurement that is not about business analysis. There are a lot of analysis that I don't have time to go over that you'll be doing, but of course, if you do enroll in these certificate programs that I mentioned, you will have opportunity to then go into detail of what all of this entails. Of course, inventory and management itself, it's really about analysis. There are a lot of analysis that goes on here when it comes to inventory management. Some of this analysis is trying to answer the question of what amount of inventory do we have to keep? What are the SKUs of inventory that we have to keep? What locations do we have to put these inventories, and in what amount do we have to put them, and when do we need to acquire them? All of these questions can only be answered through business analysis and business analytics. So it is very, very substantial part of what we do in supply chain. Alpha, you have a comment? So, Awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing. I don't know if there's any other person who would like to share their experience in supply chain in terms of maybe um, those that you are currently working on, or those that you are also aspiring to explore maybe in the future. Anybody? Um, no one. Okay, so let me quickly talk about the supply chain. The certificates, because those are just, they are very direct. So I'm just gonna go to them directly, and we can see if there's any questions. So this is the procurement one. I hope you can see my screen here. It's procurement. Give me a second here. Let me stop sharing on. Uh, okay, so this is the procurement one, and if you look at what we have here in terms of what is covered, by the way, this certificate is actually less than $1,000. Um, so what we are trying to do is we're going to have like a study group. If we have more than three people who are actually targeting this particular one, we'll have a study group so that we can have some type of structure. I've come across a lot of people who say, "Oh, I want to do it by myself," and I see that time just passes by because life happens, and before you know it, 1 year is gone by. This is something that anyone who has prior experience in supply chain should be able to get done within 3 to 6 months. However, if you do it on your own, it might take more than that because life happens again. So fundamentals of procurement, sourcing strategies, purchase order management. We mentioned purchase order earlier. Contract management and negotiations, sustainability and ethical sourcing. These are some of the emerging areas. Procurement evaluation metrics and intelligent supply chain is also an emerging area. And then after that, you do a test. Yeah, what they call a test here is just a quiz. And once you pass the quiz, you get your badge. And this is a badge that you can also have on LinkedIn. You can also put it on your resume. So when I work with people, I will tell them to put this actually on their resume as ASCM procurement certificate. And talking about those who are coming from other profession, I've worked with a former operations um, um, bank operations manager. This is all he did to get into a procurement role. This is just a certificate, and then of course, helping him to tweak his resume to bring out all those things that he actually did that are relevant to procurement role, to bring it to the fore in his resume. So that's one thing about resume. You have to focus on the things that are relevant to the role you're applying. Otherwise, you won't get any attention. So these are what is involved here. You would see these are the details of everything and it's a learning management system. This learning management system, you will have access to go at your own pace if you prefer. Okay, so there's this one, which actually is the one I should have covered first. So this one is the supply chain foundation. So you can see here we have introduction to planning, forecasting, demand management, sales and operations. So like everything, like you can ever think about in all of this stuff that I covered already, they are covered in detail here, but at a foundational knowledge level. So just kind of introducing folks to supply chain so that you have for example, folks who you already did CBAP or some business analysis or some data analytics course, this will be one that I would recommend, so that when you are applying to supply chain data analytics or supply chain business analysis role, you have this to show as a proof that you really have the underlying foundational knowledge of supply chain, because you need to uh, you need to step out differently. Like a lot of people go out there and do these courses and think that's all they need to get a data analytics job or a supply chain analytics job, business analysis role. You need to be, you need to showcase something that is different from the others, because there are a lot of people out there who have all of this course done as well, who have CBAP and all of that stuff, or PMP, and but you need to showcase how you are different from these other folks. So I will recommend this for somebody like that. Like, you don't want to go deep into any area of specialization. You just want to have that foundational knowledge and a valid proof of your supply chain knowledge. I will recommend the supply chain foundation for that. Then, in terms of specialization, there is warehousing one, right? So you can specialize in warehousing. So this covers all the basics of warehousing. Um, and I think there is also one for, let me see, I downloaded them earlier. There's one for technology as well. So this is also will be one for those who are exploring business analysis in supply chain. So this covers all of the technologies. It could also be recommended for those who are targeting cybersecurity roles, maybe in supply chain, Internet of Things, blockchain. So all of these are actually covered here. So blockchain, uh, advanced analytics and automation, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, demand planning technology. So this is talking about all the technologies we use in demand planning. Um, and then there's also 3D printing, additive manufacturing. This is also a very huge area now in manufacturing, and it's also covered here. So those are all of the certificates that I will talk about. Then there is also planning, but the planning one doesn't have much in terms of details for you. Let me quickly open it up. I think we had, okay, I don't have it here, but there's also planning certificate. So the planning one is focused more on the supply chain planning, demand planning, S&OP, CPFR, and all these type of customer facing activities in supply chain that helps with forecasting demand and supply. So those are all the certificates. What I would like to do, just as a follow up to this session, is I would like to have you do a survey. For me, it's 5 questions. It's not much in terms of the number of questions here. Just so we can know, okay, where do we go from here? Um, this is the survey that I would like you to help me complete so that we can take it to the next stage. If you have more question, or you just um, let me see, or you just want to talk about career generally in supply chain. So in case anyone have question, I think you can ask your questions now. You just indicate so I know you want to ask question, and then we can um, take it from there. So I'll put that link here. So this is the link for the survey. If you can help me with that, then we can see who will be interested in taking this further. Okay. Let me see. Kenny, I want to ask how come some of us are quite experienced about can feeding going through a professional just for quite a number of years. So I didn't get the question. Kenny, can you ask that question again? Tell me Risty, are you on? Okay, tell me you can go on. Um, tell me. Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Supply chain management professional. Yeah. So it all depends on your specific scenario. Like before I say, oh, this is the pathway you should follow. I need to understand, where you are on your journey. So what I would actually recommend is if you can schedule a 15 minutes chat with me, and I'll put that link here. Anybody who want to have like a detailed discussion, that is specific to your own concern or your specific situation. But I'm just gonna answer it without, you know, um, like personal information about you already. So you have some choices. You have, the Epics, which is North American. It's recognized here in Canada as well as. We also have the SCMP, Supply Chain Management Professional, and then we have. I think when it comes to North America, those are the major two, right? Like I mentioned, some of the others that are not North American earlier. So what I would say here is if you already have prior experience in supply chain, um, and all you just want is like a validation of your experience, I would recommend Apex right away. Okay, that means you have prior experience in Canada. Now, if your goal is job search, okay, your goal is so specifically you are focused on job search. Okay, um, I would say do SCMP, but here is a caution here for those who are have prior experience, they are new in Canada and they are trying to get a job maybe in supply chain. Now, when I say do SCMP, I don't mean go all the way because you need to understand that SCMP is a leadership designation. SCMP is a leadership in quote. This designation means that you have been recognized as a thorough professional in supply chain. All right. And as such, you should be a candidate for leadership roles. Nice. I think you get where I'm coming from. The other side to it is that SCMP is a marathon. I hope you get it. It's a marathon. So this is not something you complete within a year, and for obvious reasons. So you also need to back it up with some experience before you can actually get it. So so what I would say is if you are actually um, driven towards SCMP in that sense, get some type of advanced standing. If you have masters or you have a prior certification, uh, or you did a schooling here in Canada, so you can get an advanced standing in the program. So this advanced standing will, I think they also call it recognition of prior learning. This will get you what they call SCMP candidate. SCMP candidate again. So meaning you can actually have this on your resume without having to have completed the program already. So this also is something that really opens door for a lot of people when it comes to jobs. So because SCMP is recognized nationally in Canada is something that a lot of employers actually even pay their staffs to get that certification. So this is also one of the reasons I would say don't go all the way, get the SCMP candidate. If job search is your main goal, it's not career development. It's not like you're already working in the industry and you just want to go, career development to get to leadership roles, right? So if that is not your goal, if job search is your goal, just get the SCMP candidate because even your employers are supposed to pay for it. So why would you then have to delay your integration in Canada by pushing yourself through that 2 years? A lot of people do it, but I don't find it that the most effective way to go about it. If I were anyone job searching, I have prior work experience, I will go for CSCP right away because I know it's something I can get within 3 to 6 months. And bang, I already have something that gives me that valid badge as a certified supply chain professional in Canada. By the way, some of our colleagues who had it prior to landing, who had CSCP prior to landing here, already are working. They don't have to go and do another certification because it's a recognized, uh, designation here in Canada. And the other aspects to it also is that you realize that SCMP also is something that will cost you, depending on where you are placed. When you go for the recognition of prior learning, you know, it might take you something between 17,000 to 20,000, also depending on where you are in Canada. So these are the reason why I'm saying if job search is really your goal, go for something that gets you recognized right away. That when you send out your resume, they already see this is a certified professional in Canada, or this person has some type of certification, and which will not cost you, that substantial amount of money. So anything between, if you are going for CSCP, anything between 6,000 to 7,000, depending on if you are getting training. If you're doing it on your own, it will definitely be cheaper than that, right? It'll be less than that if you're doing it on your own. So that's what I would say. Like I said, without having any knowledge of what you are, I mean, what your experiences are, what your qualifications are at the moment. So I hope that answered your question. So somebody else out there and raised up. Timmy, I think, okay, so it was Timmy that is raised up earlier. So did you have a question? After. Yeah. So are you talking about SCMP or you're talking about CSCP? No, I was talking about CSCP. Yeah, yeah. So two different things. CSCP is the one I was talking about that if you have uh, so in terms of CSCP, I was saying that if you are not going through the training, like you're just doing it on your own, like you're doing self-study, yeah, that's this one I was talking about, that it will cost you less than 6,000, even if not lower than that. Because they are they charge in United States dollars. So if you convert it to Canadian dollars, it will still kind of be somewhere around that. And if you are doing training, it might be 7,000 thereabout. Like if you are getting an instructor-led training for it. But if it's without an instructor-led training, yeah, definitely be less than 6,000. Maybe somewhere around five thereabout or less. Okay. So yeah, I don't think I have any other questions. So for those who said they would like to touch base, I've put in my 15 minutes chat link there. So you can use that to schedule a 15 minutes chat with me. I think I saw a question earlier. Yeah, Kenny. So is Kenny able to talk? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Mm. So you have prior work experience, but you don't have any certification whatsoever. Okay. Yeah, if you have, how many years of experience do you have in procurement? Okay. So, and this is what I'm saying. If you have more than 10 years of experience in procurement, do you have master's education or something like that, or it's just degree in what? In general management. So okay, so what I would, so you are an example of a person that would say get the SCMP candidate. So they will take you in as a, like as a student, right? Who is writing the SCMP's designation courses. So they call it recognition of prior learning. That's what I believe they call it. So just get that on your resume and use that to apply, because eventually, if you get a job, um, the employer is going to pay for it. So why would you have to pay for it, yourself? Just get the SAP candidate and you're good. That's all you need to have on your resume, and start applying for jobs. Timmy have a question? Oh, I didn't lower the end. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Global, yeah. For somebody like, so it's not like you're looking for a job, right? Is it? Like you're already working in supply chain. Yeah, if you're already working in supply chain and your employer pays, no matter how much they pay, I mean, it still makes sense, that you go through SCMP. Somebody is paying for it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what is your so if I heard you're in procurement too, or just supply chain planning? Okay, you don't procurement, you don't planning. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, I think with scenario you painted now, I would say SCMP, because now you are looking at career development. It's not like you need this thing, so that you can get recognized, for job search purposes. So somebody like Kenny, his case is a little bit different, though, right? Yeah, which is good. Yeah, yeah. So that's also another good thing that might be working in your favor, because now they might also exempt some things for you, which will reduce the number of courses you have to take to get the certification. Yeah, any other question? Yeah, I think we can round up now. Please help to fill that survey. I don't know if you've been able to complete it, but I will be here for some times. I think it's only one person that filled it so far. I'll be here. Um, just leave this on for some time so that people can have time to get all the links. So for those who are joining too, I want to encourage that you connect with each other. It's very, very important that the guys that you have here today, let them be part of your network. That's how you increase the information you have when it comes to opportunities. You never know what type of information they might have, they'll be able to share with you. So, like I said, share your LinkedIn, connect. So, while we're going out of the session here, I will leave the LinkedIn URLs open so that I'll leave the chat box open so that people can still be able to use those links that are posted here. So post your LinkedIn, connect with everybody so that you can, and not just connect with them on LinkedIn, reach out to them. Like set up some type of maybe Zoom if it's just 20 minutes, 30 minutes if it's phone call, so that you can keep building your network in Canada. And for those of you guys who are not yet on our platform, I'm going to type that here as well to join our platform. And through that, we'll bring you on to the WhatsApp group where we also have, colleagues there. We have about, I think we're about 500 around that now on the WhatsApp, and we are across Canada too. It's not only just in one location. We have people in Calgary, Ontario. We have in Saskatchewan and all that. So our programs happens on Saturday, the fourth Saturday, which is the next one. We will welcome new guys amongst us. As well, we got to learn more about you, about the journey, and maybe how we can support. And then the second one will focus on a particular topic. Maybe we're looking at resume writing, short resume this coming second week of March. And then the third week we will do a mock interview. So if you are interested in mock interview, let me know so that we can schedule it for you for the next one, which is next the third Saturday of next month. And then the fourth month, that's when we'll do information session, something like this, where we'll cover a specific topic related to career or to supply chain if we have a guest speaker. So that's all for today, guys. Thanks everybody for joining. My own LinkedIn, let me share my link if you don't have my LinkedIn already. I'll share that as well so that you can connect with me on LinkedIn. So it's my own LinkedIn here. And yeah, for those who would like to talk, I've shared my calendar there as well. Reach out and let's see how we take this forward from today. Thanks for joining, and I appreciate everybody that was able to participate here. So see you next week. We'll welcome newcomers next week. Okay, I think I can still my um really? Oh boy. Yeah, these things happens every time. It just happens by default. I don't know how. If I had messaged somebody, that's the person it would default to. So sorry about that. I've just shared them now to everybody now. So I've shared the one for Calendly. I'll also okay. So I think what I can also do. Okay, so the supply jobs on. So that's the supply jobs on. Yeah, silly Zoom. Who does this every time? I don't know. Maybe there's a settings that needs to be adjusted. Okay, I'm gonna head my stream on LinkedIn for now.